This is Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. Tim Dahl, it is colder in New York than it is in Malmo, Sweden, where I am. Sold out shows, suicide tribute. It's going amazing.
Froze toes. I was walking outside. It's like 10 or some bullshit like that. It's like cold, but whatever. I mean, it used to be like this all the time. So it's not like,
Well, I mean, hell has frozen over because we have an orange ass clown in position of power once again. And let me just talk about the immigration dilemma for a minute. If he carries through with this, his fucking fraudulent wife, his best butt buddy, bring me the head of Elon Musk, and his children will all be extracted because all of his children are children of immigrants. So, I mean, let's get it straight. The guy is a hypocritical bullshit artist. It's not going to happen. 90% of what he's claiming to do, it's not going to happen. So, America, don't fucking panic. And if you do, you can do like I do and perhaps extract yourself from the very fucking country of complete hypocritical fraudulence. Anyway, America, it is Trump.
yeah, well, America gets what we kind of deserve it. I mean, you fucking put that guy in. He pardoned 1,500 January 6th rioters. So I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
it's
but you know what?
insane.
And that might be good because it actually might start the civil war that we need and always have had because the civil war in America has never ended. There is a war against the individual. There is a war against poverty. There is a war against poor people. There is a war against any petty criminal other than the convicted felons, like the asshole who's supposedly in charge of power now. So, I mean, and look, when I say America, I don't mean the people that listen to this podcast. By accident, they happen to live there. Not everyone has the luxury of the evacuation. I might have to once again ascertain just to continue my own sanity
Well,
or insanity
I mean,
defense.
speaking of your of America, did you see the little Hitler salute that Musk gave?
It was hardly little, if you ask me.
Yeah, it was not like, oh, out of context, and fuck that. That was like a fully intentional. I mean, yeah, it sucks.
Well, I got to
Uh,
talk about Barron for a minute because I keep
okay.
praying for fratricide, or I actually am going to think I'm going to convert to I'm going to just become pray to Allah for Iran to actually step in and do what they claimed they wanted to do. Barron looks like Eddie Munster at this point,
All right. A tall one.
right? And I mean, look, yeah, a tall one, yeah, a tall Eddie Munster.
Yeah, he's
I
a
mean, I
tall
find him
boy, tall
so
boy.
ludicrous. It's so ludicrous. It's so ridiculous. And where is this so-called vice president with his immigrant wife? I mean, instead we got the autistic butt buddy who knows nothing except for how to make money. I mean, you know what? Go with SpaceX. I hope you all go to the fucking moon or Mars. By the way, the moon is toxic. Go to Mars and get yourself over there as quickly as possible. Because you know what? You are the immigrants, so get the fuck out of
It
my
won't
hair.
make it. It won't make it.
Enjoying it. I think it's so outrageous.
His last spaceship just blew up. I don't even think he's good at this shit.
I,
Um,
I, I feel like all of this is turning me into like a Howard Stern circa 83 or something. It's just, it has me both perturbed, excited, outraged, hilarity, I think ensues because it's almost unbelievable how pathetic and ridiculous it is. Oh, by the way, I love the latest dump of Trump lie or like braggadocio, like, oh, idiot autistic pumpkinhead knows so much about computers. That's why he was in Pennsylvania for 2 months, which is where Trump won by 2 fucking points. I
did
don't
you?
like any of them. I don't like any side of it. I think American politics blows. It always has. I don't want a millionaire or a billionaire telling me what to do. And by the way, for most of us who listen to this, I mean, other than psychologically, mentally, psychically, it doesn't really frickin' affect us. America is what it always has been: hypocritical, racist, sexist, murderous, and full of chronic crap, which, promotes an endless carrot dangle that comes to fruition only to those who somehow sucker up and suck into the bullshit. So, hello, welcome to America, asshole, as I've said many a
Wait,
time. I'm
they had all these,
sexually.
as they're kind of passing the baton, with Biden, and then they had these like people in the news representing the Democratic Party, like they come up with theories. What went wrong? It's like, I'll tell you what fucking went wrong. You didn't fucking listen to the people, and that's your fucking job.
Well, I'll
You,
tell you
you,
what wrong. Well, yeah, beyond that, Tim, hang on.
Yeah.
And listen to the people. They didn't call up the bullshit enough. Problem is, Trump accuses everybody of everything he does. Democrats were too fucking weak willed to call up what the actual criminality was. Therefore, being accused of the criminality, which they are responsible for, because they're all fucking crooks. So, this is the problem. They weren't aggressive enough in telling exactly what was going on.
Well,
So, therefore,
there's
and by the way, excuse me, one more thing. I don't believe in the fucking vote, and I don't believe in the electoral college. So it's all a fucking hype. It's all bullshit. And by the way, only Pennsylvania, which does do manual hand counts of paper, fine. But still, oh yeah, the autistic ass clown was in there for 2 months because he knows computers better than anybody. Trump can't even read a fucking placard. So
Dem-
no
de-
wonder he's buttering up to butt boy.
yeah, but the Democrats handed it to him. When Trump was up there, it's like, oh, the Hill system's rigged, blah blah blah. It's like they should have said, yes, it is. It's called the electoral college system. But they are not allowed
Hello,
to. They're
hello.
allowed. They're not allowed to say it because they have to answer to their donors. Their donors don't allow them
Look,
to. And so
the only
that's all they do
time
is
I
represent their
will
donors. They
kiss
only represent their money. They don't represent the people, and that's why
The
we're
only
here.
time I will kiss Republican cock, and I admit I do it, is Adam Kissinger. Thank you very much. Doesn't want a pardon, refuses a pardon, should not be pardoned for doing his fucking job. Not only being a military moralist, and his morals might not be mine, but I still respect him, and the fact that he did his job correctly and came down on the side of what is the truth and law, and then says, don't pardon me, come after me, motherfucker, and then gets out of Congress because he knows what a fucking scam it is.
Well, speaking of cocks, one of the biggest cockfighting rings ever was busted the other day. They had like 250 roosters. They were just all they're all going
As you know,
nuts.
my latest motto is confront the cockocracy, so carry on.
Well, they stormed this place in San Bernardino, and there's 250 fucking roosters, all buff and like kind of, they all have been training to just kill each
By
other.
the way, San Bernardino, a place I frequented often with Marty Nation when he was dirt bike racing. Hello.
Sounds about right.
It
Um,
does. Speak
and
about
there's
a cockfight.
well, they had a 250 violent cocks, shitloads of guns and cash everywhere. It was pretty
Sounds like
rough.
you're kind of a gangbang, Tim. I don't know. 250 angry cocks.
Well, they're cockfighting. I don't know about that.
All right. See, I'm just projecting like Trump does. So maybe I'm becoming a Trumper. I'm suddenly projecting my fantasies onto you. 250 angry cocks all fighting, yeah, and they all fucking die at the end of my fist.
Yes, well, they do
I'm
die.
sorry, I'm riled up.
I mean, there is a last cock standing, I think, usually at the end. Well, that eventually dies
Yeah,
himself.
true that. I am the last man
You know,
standing cock withholding. Doesn't matter.
well, it's interesting because I was watching a little bit of the inauguration yesterday, and I have to say that military Sousa marching band that plays all that fucking shit while he stands there is fucking great. Like that piccolo player is just there are a couple piccolo players, but that they're fucking destroying it. And what's funny about this is I know the conductor. I went to UMass with the guy, Jason Fedek, who was like a classical clarinet virtuoso. And I guess he joined the military. I don't know. I didn't keep in touch with the
And
guy.
just because your nickname is Pickles doesn't mean you have to
It's
vote for the
not.
piccolo player.
Well, you're the only one that's called me that like 5 times, but you called me 8 million things. That's besides the point. So
I
yes,
haven't stopped calling you, and I will not stop calling you because you are, if nothing else, Timmy Seymour Doll, co-host of the Lydian Spin. I don't know what else we can go on about at this
well,
moment.
hold on. But I will go back to the piccolo because what's funny about that is, that way back in the day, like Revolutionary War, it's like, it's supposed to intimidate people, like a little snare drum and piccolo, and they're like, oh boy, here it comes.
Pickalicious, if you
It's
ask me.
funny that the piccolo is like this kind of terror instrument. It's supposed to scare the shit out of you, and it's it's piercing. It's definitely cuts through, but
I
I don't
have to
know.
say, if there were 250 fighting piccolos, I'd be scared to death.
I would fucking check that out. Hey, did you see Billy Ray Cyrus's performance or non-performance? That, that was
Look.
the weirdest thing.
I'm in a sane country where people have free health care, where the architecture is great, where everybody, other than the weather and the depression from that, has a pretty good life. I did not watch the cockfight of the century, or should I
Well,
say, the picklettes raising their fists in a Nazi salute, or the wife with a hat so big that the fucking orange ass clown couldn't get near her face. But tell me all about it. Go ahead.
Uh, well,
I don't care.
Billy
He
Ray
got
Cyrus,
off stage.
it was, he didn't know what was going on. Like he's on, I don't know what he's on. He basically was singing along to the music video behind him, kind of like on top, and then everything shut down. He's like, "Is my guitar on?" And then he starts like clapping. It was
Well, look, I mean, look, they can't
brain
even get
dead
their rallies right.
insanity.
They can't even get their fucking inauguration right. They're the most discombobulated tech geniuses ever. They can't even run a fucking microphone.
Well, Carrie
Anyway,
Underwood's background music didn't even go on. So yeah, they lot of technical errors with the music performances.
there has
Minus
always been,
minus
I
the
mean,
military, minus the military
I haven't
band
had
with
as
the piccolo
many
players.
technical errors in my entire career as they've had in one fucking rally. By the way, Polly want a cracker, or should I say, piccolo to you. I'm done with this
All
conversation
right,
because I'm so
fine.
filled up. I'm going to hang my head out the window, take a deep breath of fresh, fucking unfiltered air. I'm going to gluttonize on the crack water
Oh yeah,
because
well
here I am in the
yeah,
village of crack
I
water.
love that Crackwater, but that was in Gothenburg, maybe not Malmo. I
I'm
can't
not far
remember.
away. By the way, all of Scandinavia, the water is like crack water.
Yeah, yeah, you
It's
can't stop drinking
delicious.
it. I
I
know.
can't stop. I'm going to go. I'm having a cracker. I'm going to have a glass of water. And
It's
I'm
like
going
the
to say, this is Ian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. Nothing more to say. Sue yourself. Don't kill yourself. If you're going to commit suicide, make sure it's somebody else's body you use, not mine. This is Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl with the Lydian Spin. Our guest today, are you in Asheville, one of our favorite cities, North Carolina? That would be JD Pinkus.
It is, and I am in Asheville, and it used to be a lot prettier until a few months ago.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That's so fucking rough. It's
Wait,
so
was
weird.
it your fault?
Well, it was. I felt bad about the fact that like my friends were contacting me. It's like, aren't you gonna ask me if I'm okay? It didn't even dawn on me to reach
Oh,
out to people in Asheville when there's a hurricane. I was like, what?
Yeah,
That was
and
like left
I was the
field.
opposite. I was like, please leave me the fuck alone,
All
man.
right,
Just
all
got hit
right.
by a
well,
fucking hurricane.
JD Pinkus, let's just start a while back. First of all, I can imagine you might want to be left alone after being tight with Gibby Haynes and the Butthole Surfers and being in the band for quite a while back in the day. Back in the day, I consider myself the anti Gibby. I mean, I love him as I do, but I'm easy, and he can be a bit interesting.
The first time I met you was with him. I was thinking
Yep.
about that. I don't know if you remember a long time ago, but my one of my first trips up to New York was, you're younger than Gibby. He's 10 years older than me. I think I was like 18. He was 28,
I'm
and
picking at 18. You were his son, legal but not too old.
yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, I remember like it was like you and Richard Kern and Lung Leg and a bunch of folks, but I was just kind of out of my element. I'm from Georgia. I'm like, I had never even, I mean, not that I crossed the Mississippi to get up there, but I had never really crossed the Mississippi before. So it was I grew up with like RuPaul, the Celebrity Club, and stuff like that, who all came up to the Pyramid Club, and so I was kind of around some people that were wild in their own ways, but I was a little intimidated by being up in New York at 18, hanging out with all these famous New
These
York
non
folks.
not these non celebrities, because we did not give a fuck either, but we did love the Butthole Surfers,
Mm,
especially using a song in one of Richard Kern's films, Cherub, which makes the film. Uh, so let's just talk about. So you grew up in Georgia?
yeah, yeah. Well,
I,
until I got swooped away to Texas by the Butthole Surfers when I was 7. I joined them when I was 17 and turning 18 by the first time I did the first show.
how'd they
And
scoop you out of Georgia?
well, it was pretty easy. Uh, they were like, after I passed the test of my one practice, and I played Blue Cheer songs, Black Sabbath songs with King and Paul, and played a couple old Butthole Surfer songs. And then Paul said, "You can go to Europe with us," because they wanted someone to go to Europe. And then he goes, "Actually, you can stay in the band as long as you want." And I said, "Oh, okay, cool." And he goes, I just got to warn you that we sleep on a lot of floors. And I said, you promise me a floor every night? And he said, what? I said, yeah, I'll do it. Because I left home when I was 15 the first time. And so
Don't
I
we
was
do
kind of
that?
already,
Yes.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
a floor every night. I'm down.
Floor is
Nice.
better than the sidewalk. By
Where
the
in
way,
Georgia?
Paul Leary is one of my favorite guitar players. I mean, just ever.
Oh, yeah.
He's
One of
just
my favorite
magnificent.
people and guitar players. He
He's
was actually the
incredible.
only guitar on my last record that I had because I'm kind of anti-guitar now.
Because
Whoa.
you picked
Because
up the banjo.
yeah, well, I got the banjo, but I'm playing with with folks that play. I got a pianist, pedal steel player. I got two banjo players that I like to play with. I mean, I've got all these other guys that do the trick, but I just haven't heard anyone do anything new with the guitar in a long time. And Paul is one of those guys. He still will do
Absolutely
something
great.
new with his
Cool.
guitar every time you give it to him. In
Well,
fact, if I
that's why,
didn't
I mean,
tell people
yeah.
it was guitar, they
Right.
probably wouldn't know.
Well, that's why Tim and I do a lot of stuff with bass and sax, or bass and drums, or I do it with bass and vocals, bass,
Yeah, yeah,
vocal, and drums, because, there are great guitar players, but there are other instruments and other sounds to explore.
exactly. I mean, if I do jams on Tuesday, in fact, that's what we were doing today. It was really cold out there, so we went to the bowling alley and had some burgers and tater tots and some drinks first to warm ourselves up. But we have a no guitar player rule because we say the word jam, then we
Uh-oh.
know. And in this part of the country, that means you're
Yeah.
going to get Warren Haynes out here going, oh, yeah,
Oh, we know the
we
problem.
don't
We
want
we've
that.
dealt we dealt with the problem for a while ourselves, but we exiled that
Yeah,
champion of the
yeah,
absurd.
yeah.
Tim,
Too much of that.
you were gonna ask something, Tim, about Georgia.
Well, yeah, yeah. I want what city or town in Georgia did you grow up in?
Oh, I grew up north of Atlanta. My folks still are alive, live together still somehow, and are still north of Atlanta in a town called Sandy Springs.
Okay.
I went to North Springs High School up by the Chattahoochee. Thank you, Jimmy Carter, for making all those places swim holes. Jimmy Carter just passed.
Well,
I had
I'm
to
going to
Oh,
be
yes,
talking. I'm going
had
to be
yes.
to had
talking.
to give him
I'm
a
going to be
solid,
talking about.
man.
I'm going to be talking about Jimmy Carter at the end of this. Usually, I do an intro in the beginning, but I got something to say comparing the peanut farmer to the penis farmer. Trust me, know what direction I'm going in. Just saying. Yeah.
Oh
Hey,
man.
I've got a question for you, Lydia. Is it true that you got your name because you used to steal food from people?
No, I used to steal food for people.
Oh, for people.
I used to steal food for Mink DeVille. They were some of my first friends. We were all just so
Ah,
poor. I got a job for 2 weeks just to steal food. And I was just walking down the street with the food, and Willie DeVille goes, Lydia lunch. It was like glue. I couldn't get rid of it.
Oh,
Like kryptonite.
I thought it was the suicide guys that okay, I didn't know
No,
that.
they
All
didn't
right.
know. I mean, no, they never ate.
well, the reason why the reason why I ask is my wife, she was a roller derby girl, and she actually has a connection with Andy Sprinkle and Tiny Tim, and she worked up in Coney Island doing tattoos when she was 18. But her name was Dinah Dash because she used to
Oh,
dine and
yeah.
dash all the time, and that's
I
why
would
I
dine and
thought maybe
dash.
y'all two would have something in common. You know.
We kind of do, but I would just, I'd steal it from my friends because, yeah, it was easy to dine and dash and stick a steak down your pants or whatever you had to do back in those days. But Willie
Chew and
DeVille,
screw.
he never remembered giving me that name, but he did. It stuck, and that was that.
Well, there we
Plus, I
go.
mean, I remember having. I don't know if you were in the band at that time, but I remember when I lived in Dumbo when there was nothing there with JG Thurwell, and we would have some brunches, and some of the Butthole Surfers came to one of those.
I don't. I might have been. I just saw Jim actually when I did my solo show up with Buzz. He came out to a couple of nights. It's great to see him. He's got the camera on him all the time now. I guess
Okay.
he fancies himself a photographer.
Well, you
All
should
right.
check out his wood artwork. It's amazing. But yeah, we go back in time. So you at 17, 18 drafted into the Butthole Surfers from Georgia. How
Yeah.
did you even get an audition for that? I mean, how did that even come about?
I think I was available, and I was a warm body, and I could actually
Had you
play
been
some of
had
the
you
songs, and I had no attachments to anything or anyone. So I fit the bill. I know they had asked around for people, and I won't go into who it was, but there was
I'm
one guy that was
curious.
from Texas that they wanted to have play bass for him, and he was like, "Yeah, that sounds great. Can I bring my wife?"
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
And
Strikeout.
back then the budget didn't quite include wives, so I
hell
looked
no.
even better at that point. But
What?
I think I was just probably like to them at that point going to be a disposable bass player. Like use like a plastic cannon. You use it once and then throw it away. And I ended up sticking around for way too long.
Well, when did you first pick up the bass?
Well, I was playing guitar. There's like my sister she played piano and then played guitar, and then I got her guitar and I started playing guitar. And I remember I wanted my guitar teacher. I only had it for a brief time, and it was the guitar player from this band, Mother's Finest, which is one of my favorite Georgia bands of all time. And he wanted me, always told me to bring in a song that I wanted to learn. And well, I mean, always. I was only took him for like 2 months, but I brought in Brick House. I wanted to play. I thought I wanted to play guitar on it, but I really wanted to play bass on it. And so he like gave me the guitar parts, and I went home and I tried to play them, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like it at all. And so that's when I realized I wanted to be a bass player. Went to Rhythm City, traded in my guitar, and put a little bit of extra money with the help of my folks into a Fender Mustang. And I plugged in, and I remember feeling my belly move when I hit the note. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I want to play. And I just never was a guitar player. It just wasn't my
I
thing.
understand. Tim,
Yeah.
what do you feel jiggling when you got the bass strapped on?
I mean,
The
so
whole
I'm
room.
one of the few bass players that never played guitar, like ever. I still don't know how to play guitar,
Yeah.
and maybe that was a contrarian nature because everyone, that's in the '80s. Everyone wants to be a guitar hero, and I was maybe a contrarian. I'll play bass.
Yeah.
Um,
You
what's
didn't
interesting is
answer the question. What jiggles?
all types of
Jiggles,
stuff,
wiggles.
all types of stuff. I have
You're
this
jiggling,
theory.
baby.
I have a theory about like Bootsy Collins because with the funk bass players like East Coast, Bootsy's kind of Appalachian, even though he's Cincinnati. But
Yeah.
but it, but the banjo was originally an African instrument, and that's why he kind of plays bass like kind of like a banjo, like that kind of stuff. I kind of
A
I
bass and a banjo are way more mathematical than a guitar is, and I'm much more mathematically minded. And
cool point.
my dad was a trig teacher, like he grew up in the projects, and got into a college and became like I don't even know if they teach trig anymore because now that you can bring a computer to school, I don't think it really matters trig or calculus. But yeah, I had no reason to not be good at math, and so my brain has always been that way. And to me, banjo and bass are similar in the percussive, syncopated
Yeah.
factor. My buddy who in Texas used to be the band director for Gillies down in Pasadena, Texas, and he was a bass player, and he always said. Don't ever listen to the drummer. Make the drummer follow you. To
Ah,
bass players, that was his thing. It's like you're leading the band, not the drummer. Yeah. So, but it's kind of you can be that guy to set the pace and to hold things down for everybody else to go and
sure.
do their thing, which I don't know, I kind of like that.
And you have all the power in terms of harmonically speaking. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of responsibility with power. So we'll put it
Well,
that
I
way.
agree. If a bass player hits the wrong note, that's what the only time people in the audience look over to see where the bass player is. Guitar player can hit a D when he's trying to hit a G. He can, whatever, you can fudge around. You can do, you can be way sloppier on the
Totally.
guitar than you can on a bass. I think sound man's the same way. No one knows where the sound man is until they hear feedback, and
Totally.
nobody knows where the bass player is on stage until they hear a wrong note. It's the same thing.
Cool. So not to kind of equipment geek on you a little bit, but I saw you with that. Was it a flying V bass? Is that what
I've
is?
got a few of them. As two V's or not two V, but I've actually got three V's, and actually I got four V's, but I gave one to my kid. But and five V's if you include the ukulele. But it's a comfortable way to play a bass guitar to me.
Is
Uh,
there a neck dive? Is there a neck dive because you don't have that upper horn on the body?
Oh yeah, totally. And, like when I do play guitar, I've got a BB King rock box, And that one you can't play a lead if you wanted to. Like once you get to the top, it's just a box. There's no cutaway.
Right.
So it's like perfect for me. Like if I am going to play guitar, that's the one I'm going to play. But no, the V I can get all the way up top. I can sit down with it. I can carry it. It looks cool. It's fun to pick up by the back. You can turn it upside down. It's like a chick, and you can spank her. It's got.
All right, what color? What colors are your many V's?
Well, I have 2 white V's and I have 2 aluminum V's that are made by electrical guitar companies. So they look like they're shiny and silver.
Well, Tim has a silver something. What you got, Tim? You got a silver.
No, but that just modded out. I do have a Kramer V, but I don't play it that often. The aluminum one.
Yeah, they're a little top heavy.
Yeah, and so I had these guys at Sadowski modify it, so there is no neck dive, but it's not as fancy as the one you have. That's like a side one. No, I have that aluminum looking one, Lydia. That basically
aluminum looking.
It was like a shrink wrap. It was a real ghetto.
It was like a glam dress on a base.
It was like vinyl siding, basically. It was like vinyl. It was really cheap, but I like it.
Good.
So, yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen many silver or aluminum base or anything, instruments. I think it's a good look.
Well, it's great to blind a lighting guy when he's trying to dial his lights in on you on stage while you're doing sound check, and you can be, oh, really? You like that? Here, put this in your eye. How do you like that?
How often have you had to, fight with a house sound guy? Like, what the fuck's this motherfucker doing?
I never do, man.
Cool. Good answer.
My voice is out. I pretend like the mic cable's bad. And a lot of times, my guitar player from band Honky, he'd like to go, he'd get the mic, go up to the mic, go, okay, you over there stage right. And he'd go, and the sound guy would be flipping out. And he'd be like, no, I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding. But, it's the same thing as going up there going,
yeah.
Ain't nothing.
I'd say
your lips, nothing's coming out.
The soundman said to me is what should be.
Yeah. Well, what about going back to your let's say your first tour with Butthole Surfers?
Yeah, exactly. Where I wanted to go.
Yeah. How much LSD was consumed on that tour?
Was Europe the first tour?
What's that?
Was Europe the first tour you went on? With the
yeah, that was the first tour. I mean, I did little runs with my little bands in Atlanta. We go up to Chattanooga, shit like that.
Love Chattanooga.
Yeah. So yeah, I went on that tour with them, and yeah, we did. I mean, I did a lot of acid before I joined them. We did a lot of acid in spurts, but we didn't do acid every day. I mean, I did a lot more acid probably before I joined them, and it was shittier acid. But when
from 12 to 15, from 12 to 15,
yeah. And so, but when we did get acid, it was always really good, and it was like we'd always hit these little spots. There was a guy named and I always send stuff home, and I'd send it to myself, and I'd use someone's fake name like Rainbow or whatever, and say, thanks for the show in Portland. You love Rainbow, and send myself some acid. But I'm much more of a mushroom guy now. I like DMT and mushrooms. That's my thing.
Oh, wow.
What about that one recent record, Fungus
Shui?
Fungus Shui. Tell us about that. Because we often talk about we love mushrooms, both tripodelic and just the fungus in general. So tell us about
Yeah, to me, I say a lot of it goes to me when I started getting really back into psychedelics. Was going down to South America. I went to Iquitos and did a lot of ayahuasca down there.
And did that change you? Did that change you in any way?
Oh, it definitely changed me.
What did it do to you?
Well, it's hard to say, to describe it with words even, but it did set me in the direction that I went in. I set intentions for myself and what I wanted out of myself, and got away from the things that I needed to get away from to make myself do what I needed to do. So it was all a positive experience for me, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now without it, I don't think.
What year was that?
It changes lives. It changes people's lives because it does go deeper than anything else. I mean, even if you've done a lot of acid trips, I mean, ayahuasca goes deep. It goes really into the spirit, soul,
Yeah.
blood, bones, ancient ancestry, archetypes. It goes everywhere, and
It
it pulls
does.
it out.
It does. And I think with my buddy, when we were talking about it, he was like, when he told me about how he felt about it, he said it's kind of like you do the ayahuasca, and then, it's the feminine spirit, and then she chops you up into a million pieces, and then goes, you should probably do something about that. And then you put yourself back together. And the reason why when I went down there, they said that they tried to incorporate marijuana with ayahuasca down there, and it didn't work because it was two feminine spirits together. That didn't work. And I remember one of the guys saying, "But mushrooms are a male spirit, and the mushrooms will help bring back this feeling that you've had." And it did. And then I discovered the DMT pens, and oh my god,
Oh boy,
that's like
Did you see the elves?
the Godhead, but you still got to be, make dinner or something. You can do it all in one day.
Well, because it's a quickie.
It's a quickie.
Did you see the elves? Did you ever see the elves?
I call them gremlins, but yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I definitely have.
Were they friendly, mischievous, or both?
I saw some worker ones in my stomach once. They were fixing some shit, and which I had some issues, and I remember that being an issue. And I remember telling the maestro, or people that call them shamans or whatever, about it, and we had a little discussion through a translator about what was going on. But yeah, what's really weird is a lot of people see the same thing
right
the first time that they do it. And I was so pissed off the first time I did it that I don't even want to say what I saw because I don't want to ruin it for people. But I saw this image, and I was like, I wanted to be like, okay, get out of the way. I want to get to the fucking real deal here. And it turns out that so many people see the same image that I saw going into it. But I did see a lot of the same colors people see. I saw a lot of the same factory kind of stuff, and gremlins, elves, otherworldly beings. But some of the ones that I had nothing to do with those. The ones that I went really out on, that I was definitely separated from. And one was a death experience, and I really thought I was dead. And, because ayahuasca or DMT is something your brain releases when you are born and when you die. And so it's very easy for maybe your brain to be, this is a hypothesis, to be tricked into the fact that you are dying, because when you do ayahuasca, usually the DMT in your body is that's why the pen works so quick, is wiped out from your body. Well, with ayahuasca, I guess the chacunra root leaves are the things that let the DMT stay around in your system for longer. So your body, if you're in the right frame of mind or wrong frame of mind, might think you're dead.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point, JD, because what it does, ayahuasca, or really any really good intense psychotropics, is that it kills or makes dead the things you should lose, so that you can actually rebirth yourself into a better state of mind by relieving some of the bullshit that's trapped there by the lack of dopamine or serotonin, which is what these drugs re-up. Not to be scientific, but I am.
And I was
mathematical. I'm scientific.
I was off of all those, I took a break from everything before I went down, and when I was down there, so I think a lot of it has to do with yourself and the ayahuasca. It's not just the ayahuasca, because you got to be part of it. I could pull myself out of a lot of what was going on, but when you went with it is when you really got what you needed out of it. If you didn't fight it.
Yeah, the only time a psychedelic made me when I thought I was gonna die, I was dead, was
salvia
divinorum. I did it once, and it kind of half-assed, like, this is nothing. And then I did it another time, and I hit like a bullseye, and oh boy!
But Tim, do tell the details, because that's where you saw the DNA of everyone.
No, that was angel dust, which I
love that shit.
All right. Okay. So look. Okay. On acid, I'm talking good, 73 maybe, 1973. I did see under a good trip the whole history of the world in 1 second, which you cannot comprehend. So it's like, whoa, like a film strip ripped through an ancient projector, and you're like, but wait a minute, how am I supposed to comprehend any of that? And now Tim, under his on Angel Dust, he saw go into that one too because that's an interesting story.
Well,
it was reading everyone's DNA.
Well, it was like that movie. What's that Christopher Walken one where he can see the future? The Dead Zone. It was like that. Every time I shook people's hands, I actually saw their DNA from like thousands of years. It was really insane, really insane. But what was salvia though? I mean, like even the strong LSD, I always still existed. Salvia, I hit a zone where I didn't exist anymore. And
I've never done it. Have you, JD? Have you ever done salvia?
I did. I couldn't get off like everybody else did, and it kind of upset me that I couldn't get to that spot because I really wanted to experience that detachment, but I didn't get it.
I have the same issue with a few drugs.
The first 6, 7, 8 times I tried marijuana, I didn't get high, and then there was like my brain learned something. I was a teenager, and then I was like, oh my god. And I think that first time I laughed so much, kind of like these giant grand composites you're talking about, Lydia. I laughed so long when I first really got high on marijuana. I literally thought it was all the laughs I had done in my life up to that point in all together in one. I was like, I just did every laugh combined right now.
All laughs on us. JD, what was the first drug you did and how old were you? Because I think we're kind of in the same reference point.
Well, okay. Yeah. For me, what's weird is I grew up in Georgia and I was a swimmer. I like to swim. And so that's what all we had was rivers around us and stuff like that. So I didn't really smoke stuff. And so the first shit I did was like Black Beauties and Yellow Jackets. And then I got into like, doing speed. There was a girl, it's kind of a funny story. And I've actually reconnected with this girl, but there was an older girl, and me and my friend Fred, who's dead now, rest in peace. He went by amphetamine because of this girl.
Amphetamine, that's a good one. Amphetamine.
And her parents they owned the Honey Baked Ham Company. And her name was Chrissy.
Wow.
Yeah, her name
Ham is a drug. Ham is a drug.
Ham is a drug, but she had
deadly
crystal meth. And her name was Chrissy. And so she would give us it. So she was Chrissy Meth. And my friend was amphetamine. She didn't know she was Chrissy Meth.
Oh, what, you're like 12, 13, 14 here?
15? Probably 14. Yeah, 14. Yeah, 14. And then I started smoking weed. Days. Right, like probably right around 15-ish, going to 16 is when I finally gave into the weeds.
But I mean, do you smoke weed now? I mean, I can't take one hit. I smoked a lot as a
strong
teenager.
Now,
yeah. I smoke all the time. But I smoke what I call the Pinkus pinner. And everybody's always talking about bombers and shit like that. But mine's like an elongated roach, but it's fresh weed. And it looks like a toothpick, like on Cheech and Chong. It's like, I hope that's not your dick. That's but I call them the Pinkus pinners, and they're like perfect for me because like all the edibles, you never know what you're gonna get.
Forget it.
Don't know what you're gonna get.
Forget it.
Hey,
so like to me, it's cooking a potato versus eating French fries. It's like I know if I smoke weed, I'm eating fries, and if I want more fries, I'll smoke another joint later. But with the potato, once I wait for the potato to kick in, it's too late. And I've already had the potato now, and I can't get away from the potato.
I mean,
hang on, Tim. Have you seen the documentary Fabulous Fungi about mushrooms? It's really good.
Oh, I have not seen that yet.
It's real. I do recommend it. It's really beautiful. It's really interesting, and it's really good. Yeah, because it is the predominant of all species other than ants on this planet.
Been here longer. Yeah, been here longer than all of us. Yeah.
Did you know
mushrooms, octopus, jellyfish, the true aliens? Other than me, Tim, and you.
Maybe we're the aliens to the mushrooms, is the way I see.
Don't doubt we are.
Do you know the story about John Cage being on like an Italian game show, like their version of Jeopardy, and he's like he was an expert in mushrooms, and he's fluent in Italian and became like this like champion legend, and he just like nailed all the questions on mushrooms in Italian.
No,
it's a funny side story for sure. So let's go back to your friend Chrissy Meth. What do you think? I mean, people that adore people, they give them nicknames and stuff, but when the people don't know there's a nickname about them, that's something different.
That's something in the Spanish culture that the Latin culture that I like. is that, like I'm, if you're walking, like I worked on softcore porn, doing sound for softcore porn. I was in Cabo for 6 weeks, and you pass a guy on the street and he's drinking, and he looks at you and he goes, "Well," and it's like, it's not really an insult. It's just what you are. And like if you're a fat baby, you're going to be fat all your life according to your nicknames, and skinny, you're going to be skinny all your life. And it's nothing. There's nothing mean about it. I think
Right.
everybody's just too fucking sensitive about the shit.
Right.
I mean, my name's Pinkus. You don't think I had some fucking nicknames that I know about and don't know about? Oh,
Well,
Stinkus, whatever. Penis, what? I mean, name it. It's in
Dingus,
there.
Johnny, yeah, exactly. But it's a great name anyway.
It is.
Who's zooming who now? So you just get back from Cabo doing some soft porn music? But
Oh
I
no,
mean, the problem with porn always was the music was usually always so bad.
well, no, I was doing the audio. I was not doing the music. I
Oh, you're
wasn't
doing
doing the
professional.
soundtrack.
Oh,
I was on set doing the audio.
the microphones and like the
Yeah,
moaning and all that
microphones,
shit.
mixes. Yeah.
Oh,
Are
wow.
you sure you weren't doing the deep breathing?
Well, I wish. No,
Well, you might
I
have
did a
been.
little bit of that, but there's one good story with that though. I was working we had there were 3 seasons, and it changed names after the third one. But it was I was in one, and it was a fantasy scene, so I didn't read the script, and I'm just like halfway in between the Colorado River. This was in Moab, Utah. Colorado River and the projectionist, and there's a guy that's coming up on a raft, and I'm just there recording it with the boom, and I didn't read the script thing because there's no dialogue, and all of a sudden I hear, "Okay, Jeff, now jack it off." I look back at the cameraman director, and I realized that the character's name is Jeff, and he's got a life jacket on, and he was telling him to take the life jacket off. But I'm in the middle, and I'm thinking he wants me to start jacking off. And,
Now, how did you even get that job? I mean, is that just another one that swooped you up in the like a kayak down a roaring river?
That was during my lean years. There, I worked at okay. So I was out of the butts, and then now I've been in the butts for a while. But when I was out of the butts, I had a kid in a house, and I worked at a ranch. I did went to audio school, went to film. Well, my buddy invited me to go down and work on softcore porn, and I didn't know what I was going to be doing down there. Then it turned out that I knew more about sound than the other guys, so I ended up being the sound guy, and so that turned into 3 seasons of working on that. And it was really a lot of hard work. I mean, because you do a lot more than a regular movie every day as far as pages go, trying to get that done with a lot smaller of a crew. So, and you're not getting paid that much, but we did have our perks out there, and they knew how to take care of us to make sure that we were happy.
And you know what, JD, you should be happy, my friend. You should be happy.
Thank you. We should all be happy.
So JD, I have a question. So I still haven't done the ayahuasca thing that people go to Latin America. I guess my hesitation, and you should please inform me. I always feel like there must be horrible music being played in the background with a lot of this stuff. And as a musician, I'm like, isn't that going to ruin my experience? Some kind of like new age crap.
Yeah, okay, I could totally dig on what you're saying, and that would totally bring me down. In fact, there was the second place I went to do it in the Sacred Valley. I had an issue with that, but and that was from somebody that was doing the ayahuasca, not from so when the first place I went to, the Temple of the Way of Light, there's 2 maestros and 3 maestras, and they sing these songs called Icaros or however you pronounce it. And in fact, I took you can't record the stuff when you're in there, but in my memory banks, I combined a bunch of those, and actually on the Fungus Shui album, my first song on there is got a melody that I took from all the melodies that I heard from down there. It was the most beautiful music I've ever heard, actually, in my whole life. And when it first started out in the temple, it was we all did our ayahuasca. They did their ayahuasca after us, And as soon as they started feeling it, they knew that we were probably feeling it by then. So they started singing, the males did, maestros, and then the maestros started joining in, and they were all singing these the beautiful song. I'd never heard anything like it in my life. I'm seeing anacondas flying around the room. I didn't know they were anacondas. I just saw snakes, and they want you to see the anaconda, which is another
Yeah.
subject. But and then afterwards, they all come around, and there are 5 of them. So each one of them gives you a song, and you're in a room with a bunch of people, so you're hearing singing all night long. There's no instruments going on, not even a drum. It's just all vocal melodies that are the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, most
That's
heartfelt,
amazing.
beautiful.
That's so
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
And my
So
buddy wanted me to listen to it before I went down. I said, no, I want to hear it
oh
when
yeah.
I'm there. And I did, and I'm so glad I did that. But now every time I hear it, when I buy the music from them when they do release it, and I listen to it on YouTube's or whatever, I get chills. I mean, like it's just some of the most amazing, beautiful. They don't even they didn't listen to the blues, and it's got so much blues and so much feel to it, and so much. I've never heard anything
Well,
like
the
it.
blues
Wow.
is the soul, and the soul is the spirit. So it makes sense that
Yeah, it
this
sure
is a
does.
connection that's there. I mean, that's the connection. Well, your own music, JD, you are quite a musical schizophrenic yourself. You go
Yeah,
between the Butthole Surfers, Helios Creed, Melvins, 2 bass players.
yeah. One
How
bass
was that?
player and
That must
two
have been
bass.
fun.
Oh, that was blast.
Steve McDonald, right? That must have
The,
been fun.
that was so. I called it. What did I call it? It was. I called it dissonance because we didn't really practice. So it was a mixture of distance and dissonance between me and the other bass player.
A question, because I don't know if you ever experienced this as a bass player, but sometimes if the subwoofer is below the stage
Oh,
and the
yeah,
music's loud, like I know I'm playing the right note, but then
yeah.
like 30 seconds in, I hear it correctly.
The
You're like, yeah,
overtones.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I hear it correctly. It's
yeah,
like, oh my God, it's that. Like I'm
yeah.
hearing it differently in my head, and I can only imagine with bases that even obscures it even more sometimes. Is that
Yeah, yeah, it was, and the thing was, it turned out. I mean, I've got a much different. We both have much different styles, and
sure?
Steven plays like he wants to be Paul McCartney and all these like this stuff. I'm trying to be Grand Funk Railroad. Mixed with Bobby Beeman from Stickman with ray guns, and like I've got all these guys that are just these big, like they're creating a room of sound with the stuff, and to me there's a lot more feel out of that stuff. So us together, he was very notey, and a lot of his distortion tone was much more high endy, so it was more like lead bass, and I was playing
Sure.
more like the low rhythm stuff.
Mm,
And I just don't hear things the way he hears things. I don't play scales just to play scales. I kind of need like a reason to play them. Like I like textures as well, and tugging and pulling, and
sure.
a lot of things that a lot of feel to it, as opposed to proper
Notes,
scales
yeah,
and
as opposed to the proper
techniques.
notes and scales. Exactly.
As
Yep.
so it worked together for both of us, because he could do that, and I could do what I did, and both of us were, it's a little foreign for both of us to do each other's
How,
part.
how long did that go on with the Melvins, and who else? So you have Buzz, and then you have Steve McDonald, you have you, and then I guess you have a drummer. Anybody else in the band? That point
Well,
with the
when I
Melvins?
first played with him, I played with him. I took over for a bass player when they had 2 drums, and then I played as a 3 piece with him, and then I played as a double bass with him. Then I played as a 3 piece with him again, and now they're going out with the double drums, with Steven playing bass for him.
So
So
we've
I'm
had
just in the stable.
well, you are the third bass player we've had on who's played with Melvins, because we've had Trevor Dunn on this as well,
Oh, I love Trevor.
and we've had Steve. So
Right.
the
Yeah.
trifecta. Here we are.
I just got
All
off
different
We've had
styles.
Buzz, and we've had Buzz.
Yeah, I just got off the road with Buzz and Trevor. I just did. That's why I saw Thurwell and a bunch of
All
folks
right.
going up there. But yeah, we did. They did the Buzz and Trevor. Upright. It was funny because he kept saying Trevor Dunn on the stand up bass, and every night, and I was like, it's an upright bass. It's an upright bass. It's not a stand-up bass, and it's a stand-up comedian. It's an upright bass, and so I brought that up to Russ at the end of the tour, and Trevor was there, and he looks at Trevor. He goes, "I thought you said it was okay to be a stand-up bass," and he goes, "Actually, it's an upright."
Well, originally, you probably know this, it was called the double bass because it doubled the cellos an octave below to reinforce it. And it was Mr. Beethoven that basically unionized the orchestra so he could actually write independent parts. And that's when you start seeing independent double bass breaking away from like doubling the cellos.
I didn't know all that.
Yeah.
That big old octave bass thing where it took two people to play.
Oh, that
guy
thing
on the ladder. That thing is ridiculous.
So how often was the sousaphone brought out in early Butthole Surfers tours?
That was right. That was the guy that was in the band right before me. Although Kramer says he was in the band right before me, but we kind of have a difference of remembrance of that. But it was a guy named Trevor Duguay that was sent to them by the label Touch and Go. Yep. And he was in the band for, I think, 6 months. And he brought the sousaphone down. He stole it from high school up in like Manitoba, Canada, because the label's up in Detroit. But he's since he had videos of him playing it, the high school actually saw it and like was after him to get the sousaphone back.
I mean, the sousaphone is objectively funny. I just think it. I mean, I think it's objectively funny. I mean, it's what a spectacle that thing is. And of course, if you roll with like a real pro tuba dork, they're always like, oh, the sousaphone. They kind of frown upon that thing. But fuck that. I'm sousaphone all day.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm tuba all night. I'm tuba all night.
When we traveled, we didn't have any merch with us, and it's 5 of us and a dog and our gear. And everybody's like, "You don't have any merch?" We're like, "No, we don't have any merch." And we did years and years of traveling without a T-shirt or a record to sell.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and then finally we started going to the bus station. We'd pick up like a box at the Greyhound station or whatever, and it was years before we even tapped into the merch world.
It's important.
Wow.
People want it, and you make money. People want
people were making bootlegs of us, whether we wanted them to or not. So there was merch out there. That's where the 4 monkeys riding surfboards are, and it's like it was the worst T-shirt ever, but probably the biggest bootleg I've ever seen. People didn't understand where the name of the band came from or what was it about. But that was like to see it like that stupid and literal. Of the way that it was done was disheartening. I think that's part of the reason why what we did when people would bootleg our music was we would take their bootleg music, pirate their music, and put it out for really cheap and mass produce it and put it in all the stores. And so that was our way of doing that until we did Double Live Bootleg, which was probably the biggest money maker that the band ever did, because our label was only of a fifth of it instead of being half of it because he wanted to put it out. So we all split it evenly, and he was one of the people to get a share of it. And it was sold like for $15 wholesale with a limited edition of like 10,000 or whatever.
Well, you just mentioned another friend of the podcast, Kramer, who's also in Asheville, North Carolina.
Yes,
right
he
up the
is.
road from you, I guess. So, I mean, and he produced, what was the last thing he produced your Fungus Shui album?
No, I produced that actually.
Oh, he mastered it.
Yeah, he mastered it. No, he produced one that I did after that with my buddy Tall Tall Trees. And that's when he decided to move out to Asheville, actually. And because they were trying to get out of Florida, and he fell in love with it out here because they have restaurants with the food with no animals in it, which is a big deal to him. And so he moved out, and that actually was one of the coolest experiences I've had working on a record. Was that week working with him and Mike Savino, because we all dropped everything we had already preconceived and jumped in all together, and he pushed it along in his Kramer kind of way. And I won't say who said this, but somebody said he's the Larry David of independent music, and I thought that was like the most hilarious fucking
Kramer's
description of
great.
Kramer.
He's awesome. He's so now
JD,
did you go ahead, Jim?
JD, do you like to cook?
Man, I wouldn't mind doing it, but my wife is so damn good at it. I
Oh,
do.
oh.
I'm the best at dishes, though.
All right.
Why?
So
What
again,
was?
I don't know. I just
You want to know
I'm
my secret recipe?
uh-oh. No,
Well,
I kind of want to ask
I
people
wrote a
that. I'm
cookbook.
curious.
I wrote a cookbook. It's going to come out again soon. But however, let's go back to Asheville, which is really one of my favorite places in this country. Now, did you get any damage from the hurricane? Did a lot of your friends get any damage? Was because
Well,
it's a mess.
the whole town was, and yesterday it got called off. My buddy, who we got, he was sick, so he didn't want to do it yesterday. Was out his place, family place, is great, amazing story how the place got there. It already washed away once. It washed away again, and
Oh my
they're
God.
heartbroken. But a lot of it can be rebuilt. The River Arts District is gone,
Yeah, tragic, tragic.
and Marshall is coming back, but it got
Fleetwood's is
devastated.
still going.
What's that?
Fleetwood's is still up. They didn't get.
Fleetwood's is still going, but they're going to be expanding that highway over there. So I don't think
Oh,
Fleetwood's is going to be. And she's known this for a little while, but I think they might. There's a couple places along that 240 that they're going to expand, and so even though they survived that in COVID, they
right.
still might not survive the expansion of the highway.
That's fair.
But up here, I live up kind of high in West Asheville, and we just have trees down everywhere, and that's not what FEMA considered hurricane damage. They only considered, like, our neighbors had a
Oh,
tree go
fuck
through
off,
their
God.
house, and that wasn't FEMA. Didn't consider that hurricane damage. And our other friend up the hill, he had his sinkhole in his front yard from it. They said it wasn't close enough to his foundation.
Yeah.
Uh, we just had a lot of tons of down trees out here. And they're still all over. And I'm a little worried about one that's above our house with all the ice going on right now. We have a widowmaker up top that when they're talking about an ice storm this next weekend, that's like, oh shit,
Oh God.
I got to do something about that. But yeah, we're all. I mean, everybody moved here during Katrina and after Katrina to work service industry jobs, and then this happens, and they're all like, "Hey, let's all go back to New Orleans." And so, there's no work here for service industry folks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh fuck.
only and I'm afraid that's what's going to happen to this place is what, like with Maui, that that these people are going to
Tech.
come in and buy it all up and make it, the Black Rock or Blackstone or whatever they're called. Buying up all the houses and all
Sure.
the property, and that's the only way that Asheville, the way that they get all the places were grandfathered by the river to not have to upgrade for in case of a flood or anything. So all those places down there that are going to be rebuilt are going to need a lot of money to
Yeah.
to have insurance to have a place down there because of the laws. Nobody has that kind of money except for
Right.
these
No.
big conglomerations.
Yeah.
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 Well, I mean,
JD.
insurance, like, excuse me, like flood, natural disaster insurance is like health insurance. If you can't afford it, which most of us can, it still ain't going to help you when you really need it because they're all just freaking ripoffs. Hello.
Oh,
Well,
I mean,
speaking of
sinkhole
that,
ain't
I
good
want to get
enough.
on
Tree
that
on
for
your
one
roof
second.
ain't enough.
There's only less than 1% of the people here in Asheville that had flood insurance. Less than 1%.
that's tragic. It's interesting because they're talking about the stock market. So you can have catastrophes in many forms, economically too. And during the what year was that? The 2000. What was the last big stock disaster? That was 2013,
Whenever, always.
2008.
2008. Sorry,
Yeah.
2008. And the super elite rich became so much richer because they just bought everything up when everyone
Right.
else is suffering. And a lot of people thinking in the next 4 years we're going to see that again.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah.
Deny climate disasters and then buy everything up once it's been trashed by the very thing. I read a great article yesterday that said, look, we're trying to do on some levels things to prevent or to moderate climate control, but the article was about why don't we just do nothing? Meaning, why don't we do a lot freaking less? Meaning, why don't you buy less? Why don't you drive less? Why don't you travel less unless you have to for work as we do? Why don't you just trade whatever shit you got instead of, throwing it away into the garbage? And I thought, you know what? Pretty good idea. Do less, buy less, pay less. Every dollar goes into the enemy's pocket if you don't watch where it's going. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying about that.
I agree with that. We live
Yeah.
extremely primitively out here. We bought an old church that's 100 years old that hadn't been used in a long time, and we live in the schoolhouse behind it. I I wear I told I didn't realize how smart I was until I told somebody the other day that I only wear like the same clothes, like the same. I don't like to think about my clothes, so I just pull out like black pants and a white shirt. And they're like, "Oh, like Einstein." I'm like, "Yeah, just like Einstein. Check out the hair. See,
Fun.
just
Exactly.
like Einstein."
So you live in the schoolhouse. What do you do with the church? Is that like your rehearsal
Well,
music place?
we've been doing shows actually out there and playing out there, but we've been doing these free shows. People can donate. Like we've been doing them about once a month, and that's about all we can do with it. But
Yeah.
we kept the pews in there and the pulpit and the covenant, and we jamming there on Tuesdays, but on one Sunday a month we do from 4 to 7. We have folks come out and do a show, and we've had some really amazing experiences out here. Everybody's welcome as long as they ain't a dick, and we provide Jello shots for the blood and hot dogs for the flesh. And everybody else brings what they want to. We say bring your own whatever, and everybody's been cool about that. No one's shooting up or doing speed and coke out there.
Well, I'll tell
It's
you
all
that. I'll
mercy.
tell you this, JD. You hold the hot dog, and I might just come down and see you soon on a Sunday because I
You're
am.
welcome anytime to do
I
a
will be.
service at our church.
Welcome to my church, the church of
Yeah, yeah.
no
You come
God.
out.
Hello. All
You
right,
let
hold
us
the hot
know. We
dog.
we got a Sunday for you.
I bet you do. So now the banjo. Let's just top this off with when did you first pick up the banjo? We know that the mathematical equation kind of near the base is what drew you to it. And the
Right,
banjo is right now, now you're making it alternative, even though your roots are deep in this banjo.
right.
I'm not saying it's traditional bluegrass. It might be
No,
I'm on the grass. The grass. What was the name of your album that said with the grass title in
keep
it? Oh,
on the
space
grass.
grass. I keep
Yeah,
on the grass and space grass.
yeah. Spacecraft is what I call the style of music because there's enough people doing bluegrass. They don't need me to try and fudge along to
Yeah.
do that. So I'm a very non-traditionalist when it comes down to it. I appreciate traditional music, but there's something about the instrument to me that's always been like I said. You can play the percussion, you can play the low end. It's kind of like a piano in a lot of ways, except for you can bend the strings.
Well, it's got
And
a unique vibe too. It's not like a
yeah,
guitar. It's not
it's
like
a
a bass.
different
It stands
register,
alone.
and
Yeah.
I use some pedals that drop it down 2 octaves, and I use some loops of 2 octaves backwards and stuff to create some textures and things. I started playing it a long time ago, but I guess like on a Butthole Surfers record, I actually recorded with John Paul Jones playing bass and Paul playing guitar and King playing congas, and did a song on Independent Worm Saloon called "Ballad of Naked Man" that I wrote, and that one was in '93, I guess, and then I played with the Flaming Lips around that time on stage when we toured with them with my shitty banjo stylings. But I was playing banjo back in the '80s, just fudging around with it. It was my buddy Danny Barnes from a band called the Bad Livers. That's a very that appreciates. He got $50,000 from Steve Martin for banjo excellence, and he
Oh,
put
Whoa.
nice.
he put it into
Wow.
a label to where he could have people that do different styles of banjo and put them out on cassette. And so he
Amazing.
asked me to do my songs and produce my first "Keep on the Grass." It was recorded live in the studio, and he took it home and mixed it. And that's kind of what got me going into believing I could do a solo thing, because and as my wife always said, she said she goes. I don't care who you are. I don't want to sit there and stare at somebody up on stage, one person for 45 minutes. And so I totally got that. And so I started incorporating some movies and stuff into there. So if people wanted to
Absolutely.
look away from me, they'd have something to look at, because because I'm not like dancing around too much. I got too many pedals and I'm barefoot. I'll just step on some broken glass and shit.
So, yeah, and your last few releases, they've been basically banjo based. I mean, you had the one with Tall Tall Trees. That's pretty much banjo.
Yeah.
Psychedelic banjo album, Ponder Machine, and then
Yeah.
just a recent one, Grow A Pear. We're working on that one for 5 years. Is that true? Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
And it
that's
just
true.
came out in June of last year.
That one has
Psychedelic
me playing.
banjo.
That has me playing bass and banjo on it. And again, that's the one that Paul's the only guitar player on it. He only did 2 songs, I think. Or no, he did 3 songs on there. And the rest was, so one half of it was songs that were going to be from the Butthole Surfers album that we never recorded. And the other half was kind of taking what I've done and recently and kind of putting it into where it could be with a band, I guess. So a lot of it, I played instead of it being a solo project. It was me playing with some of my favorite musicians.
Collaborative.
Cool.
Well, and also speaking about my favorite booking agent and one of my
Joey.
favorite Southern bands, it was Joey Killingsworth that suggested get you on this show. So I'm very happy about that.
I love Joey. He's been such a I mean, for one, I still don't believe he's as old as he says he is. But he's
His band is great. The George Jonestown Massacre is so good.
Oh, they backed me up for like we played together, and they backed me up, and I played Butthole Surfer songs and other songs with them being my backing band when they played their set too, and I did like my banjo set, and then I played with them and did like all these songs from my rock bands and Butthole Surfers. They're so talented.
Rock. Yeah,
yeah.
So talented.
Yeah.
I still want to meet his father, Bojack. I want to meet his dad, Bojack Killings.
Oh yeah.
We had him on the show recently, so that's how you came about. I'm like, yeah, we got to get this going. Well, it's been great talking to you, my friend.
Great talking to you too, both y'all.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you. Yeah, that was cool.
Good luck with all the Asheville repairs. I mean, that's just, and the thing is, it's happening right now everywhere. Blizzards in the Midwest, fires on the West, earthquakes in Tibet. It doesn't stop. It's just.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Oh, it's just the way it is.
I know.
We've been very lucky here in New York. We have had very little disruptive weather as of yet, but it's windy today. But that ain't nothing. We got nothing. We're pretty good. It's just the mania on the streets.
Let's keep it that way.
Just a mania in the air that we had to deal with. But thank you, JD Pinkus, Butthole Surfers, Helios Creed, the Melvins, solo stuff, psychedelic banjo, mania on the bass with all kinds of pedals and things going down.
It's been a pleasure, y'all. Thank you so much.